the photograph.
Because that's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
there we go.
And there it is.
Good evening, third shifters.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Now watch, this ends up being one of the most popular streams.
yeah, I doubt it.
Biblical chili punch drunk.
Okay, so
Oh my goodness.
if anybody's watching this, please check the date and timestamp because you'll understand if things are a little
Loopy.
unprofessional. It's about 1:14 a.m. on Sunday.
It is?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So, okay. So I need Tom. This was your baby. So how about you describe what we just did? So like we were at the fair. So give us a kind of a recap. Okay, wait. Maybe I should put it this way. We just did something this weekend, trying to reach out and help people and engage with people, but we're going to give kind of like a full recap on everything. That's our purpose for doing this right now, so that we all have like, maybe this will help somebody else with not needing to reinvent the wheel, because we are podcasters. Us with Biblical Chili, and also Joe, he also has another podcast called Buddy Walk with Jesus, buddywalkwithjesus.com. And so we're all in the podcast realm or content creator realm, I guess you could say also. And so we just engaged in something we've never done before. And Tom, go ahead and take this away with what Heritage Days is.
Okay, so Heritage Days is like our a boiled down, condensed version of like a carnival, a local carnival, and we had farm animals and
that kind of carnival.
Yeah. Yeah. Farm animals.
We're not talking about rides and
well, they had like a hay ride going around, or a man mover. The hay was too pokey, so they built seats. So they had a man mover going around, and we had like a lumberjack competition and professional wrestling. Check out Oscoda County Heritage Days. It's always the second weekend in August. Excuse me, but this year, we went there as a vendor, or a vendor spot, and we were able to set up shop and have some really meaningful conversations with people passing by, stopping by, and the number one question that I was received whenever people approached us is, "What are you peddling?"
Right?
So please, before you move on this question, please explain the surroundings in which we were in.
We were in the vendor barn in front of us.
Barn.
Let that
Like
let that
straight
sink
up
in.
barn.
A barn.
The barn. Yep. And in front of us was the yard sale. To the left of us was a Sensi vendor. And to the right of us was empty tables waiting for the professional wrestlers to use. So
Okay, and he also said yard sale. It was not a yard sale.
Yeah, that's being very.
That is being very generous.
It's a by donation yard sale. And my nephew actually,
yard sale.
my wife caught my nephew saying, "Oh, so it's everything is free, right? Because it's by donation, so I can just take it." Oh man. So yeah, keep going. Okay.
Missed the mark a little bit, but we also had concessions, and it was a good time. We had a good turnout. Down the hill, there was horse rides and rock painting and face painting, and
there were a bunch of bouncy houses,
various
like,
poultry and fowl, and goats and sheep, and didn't have any pigs, but maybe next year. Hear that, John? If you're listening. Pigs next year.
We're shooting for the moon next year.
But we were able to take our recording studio,
yep,
and put it out there. We were giving away Bibles. We had some Biblical Chili bookmarks, and
but Biblical Chili bookmarks, Bibles, other books, a But I guess the main goal and just so like everybody understands, I understand we're putting this on biblical chili, but this is to kind of help those who are in the content creation realm, and specifically, I guess, the Christian content creation realm, and they want to go out and engage with the public. So we didn't even know what we were going to do. Like what do you do as a podcast outside of just here's a bookmark, here's the biblicalchili.com type of thing. Like, what do you do? And so Joe and I, when we first got there, I was like, well, what if we went around and we interviewed people? And Joe was like, yeah. And so Joe put together this questions, like 10 questions, and we kind of discussed them. We're like, yeah, those would be good questions. And we talked about this on was it Friday night?
Yeah.
Friday night we talked about this, and the kind of reactions we got. So go back to that live cast, and if you guys have not seen the live cast, or if it was very poor quality, we had terrible internet. But that was preparation and all that. But so you guys can kind of go back and listen to it. But Joe and I were kind of like hashing back and forth these questions, and we're like, yeah, what if when people go by, we ask them hey, can we ask you a few questions? So obviously that would be the doorway open to kind of make these discussions.
Right. We had the opportunity to be able to capture and record audio locally. So we were able to ask people a set of like 10 questions, nothing gotcha, nothing that made that our goal at any point in time, regardless of whether or not how many of these the people agreed with us on. It was always about stimulating conversation. Right.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
Not just for this show, but for Buddy Walk too. It's this whole idea of stimulating raw and organic conversation. And so had a set of 10 of them, and we had some that stimulated some really interesting conversations stemming straight across the board in response.
Oh yeah, and many of them were even just ones that even after doing it for I say like a day and a half and reacting with several people, we were still toward the end. There were people that came up, and like the last two, the two young men, which by the way, they had to have been like maybe 12, 13, like they were not.
Yeah.
And
those are two young men that I know that they weren't confident in the answers that they were giving.
Right.
But there were some things that were more emotionally and spiritually intelligent than we heard out of some of the adults.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what we told them too. We said, hey, you guys, like you said, they didn't seem very confident, but we're like, well, no, just answer it. Just as honest and as straightforward as you can. And they were just engaged, but like you said, it was deeper than I don't know. Like some of the questions, I don't even remember that one that they answered that we didn't hear anybody say it or answer it quite like that.
I think it was actually the first question you asked.
What?
It was an interesting answer. I can't.
Yeah, like I said, guys, we're sorry.
Yeah,
we apologize.
To give you an idea, Tom and I got to Heritage Days this morning at what, 8:30?
Yep, 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I've been up since 6.
So these guys are pulling like a 19-hour shift right now.
Right.
But no, I've been up that early, but I was at church in the morning first. So these guys were.
So we sat down in a pew and just chilled for a little bit in the air conditioner.
I was not. No.
Whatever.
You know what? Forget you guys.
Riding the pine. I'm church.
I'm going home, guys.
So the questions that were asked was, where did evil come from? How did the world get here? If God is good, how come there's evil?
It was that one.
That one, yeah.
To what degree does the
boys? You said the boy. Okay.
To what degree does the Old Testament have bearing
on our lives today?
Was actually pretty interesting to them too.
Why does it seem like there's such a difference between the Old Testament God and the New Testament Jesus? What is salvation? Why does it seem like there are so many different Christian denominations? Why do so many different civilizations have a flood narrative? Jesus told John, is Revelation
In Revelation.
is in Revelation, he is coming soon. What does the Bible mean by soon? And what is the kingdom of God?
Yeah. It was interesting. Just kind of a side note that salvation one. What is salvation? That was the one that stumped the boys the most.
Right.
And
I would say
it may have just been. I think it just caught them off guard.
Right.
Like I think it was just a catch off guard thing. But
There were a couple of people that I found that did not know how to. I don't know if it was
Address
because
that?
people thought that they're looking for a very textbook answer. They have there is a right answer to this and all of that kind of stuff, and so kind of clamming up because you don't know the exact chapter and verse
Phrasing
sort of
or
thing,
phrasing,
all of that. But yeah, that one out of all of the other questions, and you're talking about concepts that people have spent their entire careers talking about, like the problem of evil and all of that. That salvation piece was one that was
right.
stumping.
I was kind of in and out, back and forth all day long, but there was one answer that kind of stuck out to me that I was like wishing I was there, like for clarification. I thought they were talking about the reform, the religious reform.
The boys started going into trying to explain the Reformation.
And
The two young boys did.
Yeah, when we were talking about salvation and we were talking about the denominations.
Right.
Oh yeah, because that was like one of the next one. Right, okay.
Yeah. They called Martin Luther King. I didn't. I correct them in the moment, but they definitely called him Martin Luther King Jr.
That's like that. Oh, what was it? That comedian that did Bible answers from a fifth grader or something like that. Yeah, so that would be it right there.
Yeah. But yeah, they tried very hard to explain how these different denominations and stuff like that all stem from basically the Reformation.
Right.
I mean, they got a point, but it's just yeah. There's more to it than that.
And the courage it took for those guys to be able to stand up and say, "Sure, let's have this conversation."
Right.
At their youth. Yeah.
The first boy that came up, he was fearless in a lot of regards. You put that mic in front of somebody's face, and you don't know what's going to happen as far as like how they're going to react to that. And this kid really did well.
And just so we can kind of give a heads up of kind of how we had this set up, we had one mic pointing out to the I don't want to say crowd, but out. Yeah, just like kind of set up on a boom, right? Pointed out with a very high gain, high compression, so that it'll pick up anything within 3 feet. And then we had one pointed to us, same thing within 3 feet, and you could hear us very clearly on two separate channels. Just for anybody who's kind of technical on that side, but the whole purpose was it so that we could pull the entire conversation in, even with the ambient sounds. And mind you, there was a lot of stuff going on. There was chainsaw competitions going on. There were creative bands singing in the background, and there was professional wrestling going on at some point. But we at that point it was about closed down. Almost the entire place closed down. But
right.
It was we're just saying, and that really brought in the natural conversation, I think, because and now okay, this all stemmed from. Now, as content creators, we talk about getting out and talking to people about Jesus and just engaging the crowd, finding out people's testimony, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this was one of the first times as the identity of Biblical Chili or even Buddy Walk with Jesus, as that identity saying, we are podcast content creators and we'd like to ask you some questions. Right, and kind of describing what we do. Now, I understand many content creators out there are not what Biblical Chili does. Okay, I understand that we're just a bunch of gals and guys. The gals aren't here right now, but some guys and gals that get together and we literally just talk about topics. Or right now, we're walking through through the Bible right now. So we're in Exodus. So it's not the same where normally you'd pick a topic, you'd study it out thoroughly and give some didactic presentation of some kind of defending this position from a theological or apologetic view. This is a little bit different. Let's talk about the hard-nosed questions. Let's talk about just the standard questions. And bringing that element to the streets, kind of, or bringing it to the fair, was very unique. So I don't know if this would be for everybody out there as far as content creators. What do you guys think? Like, if you were to modify this maybe I should ask that question. If we were to do this all over again, how would we do this differently, other than just asking people questions, handing out books, handing out bookmarks, whatever? Okay, go ahead.
So one thing that I noticed, and I was thinking about this, I don't necessarily think that we should have a chili cook-off, but a smell or some kind of actual more of a gimmick.
What?
More of a
Ode to
gimmick.
chili? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Because
I'm going to get you some more light there.
I like the other vendors that actually did more were more of the one, catches the eye. Two, it actually has a smell or an actual smell contact.
Hey. We just okay. We were sitting next to the flavored candle lady.
Okay.
And
the lady in the corner with
she
the
was
lights.
wafting her stuff our way. It was so nice.
We still have the lady with the lights, the lady with the bean bags, and they're all colorful.
Yeah.
And we were against the white wall with the little poster board and everything else. And I was like,
okay. So in summary, you're saying we should have probably had like a table. What's that table lay thing?
A curtain.
The table curtain?
Tablecloth.
Table skirt.
Skirt. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so table skirt that would say like biblical chili on the front or something like that.
Yeah.
So like a table covering of some kind.
catching
At least.
and more easy on the eyes.
Okay. So we went in there, guys, just so everyone's kind of aware. We went in there ill prepared for that. So I really appreciate what Tom did with he actually printed out and cut out beautifully some. Do we have any right now?
Yeah.
Oh, we've got to have one in
Bibles
there,
over there, right?
don't we?
It's a little
Okay, so anyway, he put together just something that was awesome. It was a printed canvas, sail type of material, like sailing material canvas. And him and his family kind of put these things together, and they were just something very simple to put together. It was a bookmark, and I know you think like, whoa, a flimsy bookmark. That's actually really nice material.
Yeah, this is like a thick.
Honestly, I don't think I could tear
done.
it. Like if you pull on it,
Thing,
you're not
you know.
tearing it.
Yeah, no, you're not tearing
we
that at
have
all. Right.
On the back.
Biblicalchili.com.
website.
Right. So I'm just saying that was about the only paraphernalia branding thing that we went with. So I'm sure other people, I'm sure anybody would listen to this like, hey, yeah, let's go out to the crowds. I'm sure you could come up with something more creative than we did, because that's all. I appreciate Tom's creativity, because that's all we really had that was our brand, if you will, or our what we do type of thing. So I really appreciate Tom and his family putting that type of thing together. And all I did was bring some Bibles to hand out, which
all I did.
What was that?
All I did was bring some Bibles.
And then you want to talk about what Tom brought to the table, and then you brought the rest of the literature to the table as well. Especially today, being able to fill out the table with more than just I don't want to say just the Bibles and the bookmarks.
Yeah, you're right, but
fill it out more. It was still more aesthetically pleasing to see more stuff on the table, more options. You know, and we brought in the painting that is usually here in the studio, and prop that up and all of that. So by day 2, we were able to make some forward steps. But you got to remember, we crossed a huge bridge. We went out and did it. Was everything perfect this year? No, absolutely not.
No.
But we'll get into the other broadcasting parts of all of this. But that's step number 1.
Right.
Is go out and do it and be willing to have your first time not be perfect. Have your laundry list of things that you would do different next time, and keep growing as going out as if this is part of your ministry.
And besides, have two of them actually wear matching shirts on the last day.
We were in fact those guys. Christian Booth, we're both wearing the same color.
Tom, did you have what you'd change?
Yes.
Okay.
We had those 10 questions on our phones.
Yeah.
I think that if we were to be able to post the questions or hang the questions up for everyone to see.
Oh yeah.
Then they could walk up and like, oh,
just
there's
pick
multiple
one
choice and let's ask this question, because then there would be one that resonated with them and they would want to talk about
one that hit with them.
And
I like that.
That is a great.
I know
idea.
that Neil Matthews with Other People's Shoes, he breaks the seasons up into different journeys in people's lives, different paths they take, and if an interview show were to do like we're doing, he could post, do you have a story that ... meets this? If so, let's talk. And then that would open up for an interview show to have an organic conversation instead of like a scheduled one, because sometimes people that you don't even know, somebody that wants to share their testimony in a certain way, would just be walking right by you and not even know it.
So the one thing I would say to that is, for a lot of the people that we talk to, did we ask anybody all 10 questions?
No,
I don't think
no. Most people, and this is just kind of like an FYI. Most people, it was only like, I think the most we got was to 5.
Yeah.
Usually 3.
Yeah.
Maybe 4.
You could usually see a person checking out by 3 or 4.
Right.
So the fear would be that they would think that if you are going to step up to the plate, you're going to get asked all 10 questions and run the gauntlet.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You don't have to put it in list form. So you like have this question over here and this question over here.
Yeah, I mean, you could make it a very creative poster, right? With just plastered questions. I like
That's
that.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Even a handout though, that'd be actually kind of nice at the very beginning. The actual schedule and everything out. Come check out Biblical Chili and actually put it with the actual the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I like that.
Okay, so how many? Okay, so let's do it this way. How many groups talk to us, and then how many individuals?
Oh, Christmas.
Right. Okay, so how many groups? I wasn't there all day today. I was only there for about half the day. But I know on Friday, I was able to help Joe engage with, I think it was 4 groups at least. And we got there from noon until 8, 9, right?
Yeah.
So at least 4 groups, but each group had 2
between 2 and 5 people in them.
Right.
And then there were other families and things like that would come over. There was a young lady and her kids, and the parents were the kind of standing off to the side, kind of watching proudly.
See, yeah.
Gauntlet sort of thing. And so yeah, that it ranged in size and scope. And as far as individuals, that was really big today. When we first started, we had in pretty quick succession several really good one-on-one conversations that ended up lasting a bit and having meaty conversations. And Tom and I had a conversation with an individual, and it one of the biggest things about this is when you put yourself out there as a broadcaster. Tom and I have had conversations that one commonality that we share is going outside of the realm of just calling ourselves podcasters, going outside of the realm of just producing a weekly show, that there's something to this whole broadcasting thing, because it opens more doors, it allows for more situations, things like that. And so when you go out and do this, and we had this poster board behind us. I know Sully was busting it, but it said, let's chat, ask us anything.
Right.
And it was an open invitation for people to be able to come to us and ask us whatever they wanted to ask us. And granted, we didn't necessarily get a whole lot of people that were willing to stand up and ask those
and
questions.
take the challenge on, right?
But when you do, you have to be willing, when you put yourself out there, you have to be willing to hear all manner of things, right? You know what I'm talking about when I say that. There was a guy, he's my kryptonite. This kind of situation is the kind of situation that as a person I still fundamentally struggle with. And I had to be okay with being in that booth and listening to this man go on and on about a thing that I do not agree with in any way, shape, or form, and still maintain the gimmick. And the gimmick is that, like we talk about on the show, we're all different. We all come from different backgrounds, different thought processes, things like that. And we can still come together and still have that open dialogue and conversation and accept the fact that when you do that, you're not going to have a whole lot of people. So that's the one thing that I would say. I know we were talking about things that we could do differently. And if there's one thing I guess we could do differently, it's to figure out how to truly engage the crowd. Like Justin was going through and with the lapel and trying to do some, going through the crowd.
Remote interviewing, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And so maybe like having that kind of standardized and a little bit, I think a lot of the what would you do's will come with a year of figuring out, and hopefully not a year before the next time we do this, but even if it were a year of figuring out, okay, so what if we did this time? And what if instead of doing the live cast from over in the lawn, we had it down pat that we were going to be up on the theater and all of that kind of stuff. But one thing that I think God used, just straight up, I think God used to have meaningful conversations with some key people, not just from us outward, but from the audience inward, right?
Right.
You know, we talked about last night on the live stream, John, who was the last person that we spoke to, night one. And you just talk about a dude who gets it, gets Kingdom, who gets the gimmick.
Yeah, I was not there for that, man.
That was something special to listen to. And so but when you do this, right, when you put yourself out there, that's a challenge because you're not going to have everybody that's going to hear. You know, for that one person who got the gimmick about Kingdom, I asked another person about Kingdom and they were like, yeah, no, that we can try and be good people, but that's about what we have on this. On this.
Yeah. And that was early on too. Right. Right.
Yeah.
So what he's talking about, just to bring some clarity, is another thing that we did was not just interview people, but what we did also, and this may apply more across the board for podcasters and content creators and so forth. We set up a booth outside. We actually moved our booth outside. Mind you, it was a little bit later in the day. We did have some interaction, but the fair was beginning to close down, but we still did it. We went live, and instead of just going live, like right now, we're in the studio. We all have headsets on. We can hear each other. We can hear people chime in, yada, yada, yada. But no one else, if my wife walks down here right now, she's not going to hear a thing of what's going on, right? Outside of what we're saying in here. So if someone's remoting in, we're not going to hear it, or she's not going to hear it. So we set up a speaker system, and none of us had headsets on, and that speaker system was projecting to the entire fair as a call to arms to come in, and or not. It's not call to arms. What is it? Call to action. Thank you. Yeah, a call to action. So it's just another idea. I just want to bring some clarity. We went live Friday night, and that was, I think, even though it was just a live cast, I think if we would have done that earlier, as far as change things differently, maybe if we would have done that earlier in the day or sometime when the park was peaking, or between the events kind of thing, or if we would have had our own event for like an hour or something like that, then it would have been way more engaged because the questions would have came in. I mean, we even just said, hey, anybody's willing to come on here. We're just going to talk about the questions that we engaged with people and interviewed people today. And if you happen to be one of those, come on up. And actually, what, 4 or 5 or 6 people came around and we're like, wow, what are these guys doing? Right.
Right.
And we started engaging a little bit with them, but obviously it was toward the end of the day and it kind of petered out a little bit. Tom, did you have a,
I just had a favorite, like
like a favorite moment?
a favorite moment for me. And I wasn't even involved in it. It was an elderly gentleman that was so happy and anxious to share with you guys and answer questions, to the point where his family member had to come and physically remove him from their microphone.
This guy it was the guy that knew the Bible verses and the
yeah.
references. Like he had to have quoted something like 30 Bible verses to me.
Yeah.
Just like you could tell that the guy just saw it. His wife had to come by and like pull him away. Is that the guy you're talking about?
Yeah, like from the outsider looking in on your conversation, she was pacing back and forth.
I guess I never noticed that.
And she was whispering things under her breath every time she would get to a door, and she'd like stand, like that uncomfortable space behind the person, like, I hope you feel my presence here because we have to leave right now.
Poke.
And she had to physically grab him by the arm and pull him away while he was still trying to talk to you guys.
Yeah. The best part was when he looked at her, looked at us, looked at her, looked at us, and just kept talking.
Right. So and then Justin was
well, even when he said, "Well, she's got to pull me away," he kept talking as he was going.
But he also he didn't just quote Bible verses. He told us the difference between the actual Bible verses. Like it was legit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He actually went from
that was
King James to
and I think it was
Testament.
NIV.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
a giant asterisk, yes.
Yeah. So I guess the short version is this guy knew his stuff.
Right.
With a giant asterisk.
Right. He was studied. How about that? He was studied. Yeah,
that's a good way of
but we say this only because, and it's not like we were just witnessing to those who were Christian. It was just the biblical chili motto is kind of keep the conversation going.
Yeah.
Or another phrase we say all the time is be part of the conversation. In other words, you got a question, bring it up. Don't be afraid. God himself said, listen, come and let us reason together. That's an invitation from God to say, hey, I'm here to answer your questions. I'm here to discuss this.
And that's one thing that is really important. If you feel like you are being called in your ministry, in what you do, to take it outside of the confines of the studio.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then take the thing that brought you to the dance and transpose it onto a live setting. If your ministry is to stay in the studio and produce your show every single week, awesome. Much stuff. Like there's tons of wonderful ministries that are like that, but you don't need to reinvent the wheel when you take it out on the road, so to speak, right? It took a minute for us to get to the point of, okay, how do we do this? Well, we want to engage people, so maybe let's ask some questions. And hey, we've got the ability to be able to capture audio here. Let's go ahead and put that together so that way we can do something with that on down the line and that kind of thing. And it's taking the foundation of what the ministry here and really the ministry between both shows stands on, and taking it and figuring it out how to do it in a way that engages the mass versus just engages the group here, right? If you watch one of our live streams, we encourage interaction. I've watched as conversations get wholesale derailed by somebody asking something that's totally unrelated to the actual show topic, and the production still stops. We still answer the question or address the comment or whatever the case may be. And if you're looking to do that on a grand stage, so now you're going to go ahead and do that with people instead of with comments. You know what I
Right.
mean? I think it can be tempting if you're talking about going out in public to try and do this big grandiose thing, but also lose sight of what it is that you're trying to do in the first place. And
Right.
taking that out of the logistical for a second and putting that into the spiritual, you know, to if you didn't watch the live stream, one of the first people that we talked to was Terminal, but the
Yeah.
guy,
Yeah. His name is Bob.
Bob, had the kind of firm assurance that I don't think I've ever seen in anybody's eyes in my life. And
Yeah.
if anybody had a reason to be mad at God, it's him.
Yeah.
Or to be scared, right? To have somebody tell you that you're dying is mind melting on 87 different layers. And you saw this firm foundation in this dude's eyes that stuck with me. That's like, it still stays with me in thinking about that and processing that. I talked to a guy today that had so many of the very same objections that I had when I was still wrestling with this whole God thing.
That was a big conversation.
That
too.
was
a big,
over an
like about an
hour.
hour. Yeah, I was gonna say it had to have been over an hour.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tom and
yeah.
I had this conversation, and it was just, and he comes over, and you can watch. He comes over. I have questions for you guys, and he's standing there the whole time like that. Well, not the whole time. At first, like this, and as he's asking the questions, he's like, and he's taking it in, and then he goes to his next question. The whole time, his hands go to here, and his hands go to here, and his posture softens to the point where he asks us to pray for him. And like Tom was saying, as we were taking back the ring, it seemed like the world went silent when we prayed. Like the whole room, it was a barn, again, a barn. So you're not talking the best acoustics in the world or anything like that. But
I wonder how it's going to turn out.
everything was quiet when we were praying over it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot because we were in the barn with many other vendors.
Yeah.
And so whether they were at our booth or not, they were recognizing what was going on.
Oh, yeah. Everybody in that place knew exactly what
Yeah.
we were doing.
Mhm.
Wow. So if you going through what all of us went through this weekend, okay, what would you guys have to say as kind of a good overarching tip to give somebody who is like, I want to do, and can I put a label on this and call it, can I call it maybe either street preaching or street evangelism or something like that? Would it be under that category?
I would definitely call
What do you
this all we were doing was using broadcasting and recording as tools to do street evangelism.
Okay. So what kind of tip would you guys give someone who is in our type of situation, a content creator of some kind, who wants to take it out of the studio, if I can say that?
The second weekend in August, every year we have Heritage Day.
Cheap plug. That was good.
Join us, and we'll
that's
learn
awesome.
together.
Right. Like I said before, not to rip off Nike, but just do it. If it's something that you are being called to do, then
Yeah.
let me tell you, God will have the situation, right? Look at that live stream last night. We shouldn't have stayed live that whole time. Shouldn't have worked that whole time. If you could have seen
It was so
setup,
bad. So
it was
bad.
ridiculous, but it worked. But it came together in the 11th hour.
Yeah.
And the things that we had put together and the systems that we had put together, though primitive, in comparison to what's going to come, still worked for where we were at. And we still elicited conversations that everybody, the people on both sides of the conversation, will walk away from still processing. still trying
Right.
to
Right.
wrap your mind around and cultivating those seeds
Right.
that get planted. You know what I mean? And if you're unafraid to do that, understanding that not everyone's going to be a hit out of the park. Yeah, I talk about the things that, like I said, there's other ones that they weren't totally agreeable and stuff like that. But as long as you're open to that, then you take it a step at a time, but take it a step at a time. Don't stop at the first step and I don't know what to do, and so stop.
Right. Oh man. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Step 1 leads to step 2, leads to step 3. It started with questions, and then okay, we can capture these questions, and then oh hey, if we do this, that, and the other thing, we can go live.
Yeah. I like that. So your tip would be just try it. Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Go. Okay. Anyone else? I'm not even sure what I would say with it, because I think that's basically
Right.
that would sum it up, just doing it, because you're not gonna know, and old cliche phrase, you're not gonna know unless you try.
Right.
So, and because we didn't even know, like I said, we didn't even know. We're like, okay, all we knew going into this was we wanted a booth because this is where the people were going to be.
Right.
And that's it. And from there, just I truly believe the spirit moved, because we just, okay, then we're going to do this. Then we're going to do this. We're going to talk to this person.
See, I even I remember talking to Joe about this like a week before this, and I was like, I'm just excited just to see Joe. And then I just totally blanked on this and going, what exactly are we gonna do? I was sitting at work and just going,
what are we going to do
What are we
once we're
doing?
there?
I mean, then honestly, it was kind of funny. They're like, do you think you got this? And I was like, press a button, talk to people. I think I can understand that.
Right.
Just a little bit. Press the button, talk to people. I did it, and it was fun. And you got to learn just even other people's just different ideas on it, because it was honestly not even ones that we come up with 90% of the time. And it was just so, hate to use the word organic, but it was organic to actually hear the different opinions. And one of the questions that I know that, because Justin brought it up, I know it's Justin's question, the one about all the Noahs.
Oh,
the world.
the flood legends,
Yeah.
like the flood narratives.
Why
yeah.
are there so many?
Why there's so many flood legends? Yeah.
Dude, I can tell you right now, half the people are going to go look that up on Google. It's going to be on their Google searches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's over 300 global flood legends around the
Right.
world.
Right.
There's that many.
There was a gentleman that was talking to Sully and I, who was he seemed well studied. Yeah, well studied in Native American culture, and he was trying to compare the Native American culture to Christianity, and he was there to talk.
Was I not there for this one either?
Right,
No.
you were there for this one.
Man.
That was
now I feel kind of bummed out, because I feel like I missed some of the really good ones.
he was
We recorded them. It's okay.
he was under the impression of that if there's a God and you recognize God, you don't have to give him a name. And he was that speaking to understand, or speaking to, or listening to understand, or listening to respond. He was definitely listening to respond instead of listening to understand. He just wanted his opinion to be heard. And I'm hoping that through our conversations, something might have, triggered him to go back to the book and see, because the Native American lifestyle is very interesting, and it's historical.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to sit here and dismiss anybody's heritage, but I hope that our conversation will urge him to poke further into the truth, because he was very, very stern with his standings, and those kind of conversations, although it could be easily to look at as like a defeat, like well, we didn't do anything. Well, the Bible speaks plainly that we're just supposed to spread the seed, that we're not supposed to make it grow. So I'm hoping that we did our job.
Right. And I think this brings up a good point, Tom, which I guess my response to that would be, how would you deal with someone like that? Because it's not the, because we kind of went into this. We're not here to debate. We're not here to be like, I'm right, you're wrong. No, we wanted the conversation to get started. We wanted to plant those seeds of thought, just to start rethinking, start challenging what you believe type of questions. And with somebody in that instance, Tom, like you said, they're not there to try to gain understanding. They're there to prove a point.
Right.
And us as the ones that, as the interviewer, how should we respond to that? You know what I'm saying? It's something to bring up to those who may be looking into doing something like this, in their content realm. So, is there anything else you guys want to lead off? I know we kind of going about 45 minutes here, just to help those who may want to do something like this.
Make sure that when you have mics set up to a soundboard that are supposed to be recording, that you unmute them. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that's what happened or anything like that. I'm just saying, make sure that if you're gonna have really good conversation, they don't miss two of them because all of the channels were muted.
And tip number 47 of doing a podcast.
One interesting thing to remember is that I remember Eric Nevins saying this. I don't know if he quoted somebody else to give proper credit to it, but he said, never judge your beginning by somebody's middle. If you know a memory verse, you can use that one memory verse to impact somebody's life. You don't have to have the whole Bible memorized to make a difference. You don't have to have a Bible verse memorized to share your testimony with somebody.
Right.
Don't psych yourself out of doing something that you want to do because you don't think you're good enough at it, because you're looking at a different measuring stick than your own.
Right. Okay, guys. Well, I think this might be able to be closed out. I guess I'll end in a word of prayer. How about we do it that way? Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity, for giving us these last couple of days to not just engage with a Chile member that we have not been able to meet in person, but which has been wonderful, God, and quite frankly a blessing to meet him and his wife. But I would like to thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to reach the wider world of outside of this room, outside of our normal recording. Lord, I pray that more opportunities will spring up, and not just for us, for those who are out there who may be thinking of doing a live cast in person. And I pray, Father, for blessings over that. Father, help us to learn quickly of what to do and what not to do. But most importantly, send your Holy Spirit to come in and to react with the hearts and the minds, and that you please use our lips and use the words that we speak to touch the hearts, Father. We love you so much, and we thank you in your heavenly name. Amen. Well, this has been Justin.
This is Tom.
This has been Sully.
This is Mike. Or
Oh,
it's 2
wow.
2 o'clock in the
It's
morning,
2 o'clock
guys.
in the
It's
morning,
2 o'clock in
guys.
the morning. My name's Joe. Good night.
And just kind of an FYI, as we always like to do, Joe is also a co-host on BuddyWalkWithJesus.com, and we are BiblicalChili.com. All right, we love you, everybody. No music. Sorry, I just reset up the system.